There comes a time in life when you realize you don't need to explain yourself anymore. You don't need to justify your choices, your pace, your dreams, or your silence. You've spent too long trying to convince people who were never meant to understand you. You've exhausted yourself trying to explain your vision to those who can't even see the road in front of them. Silence is not emptiness. It is presence in its purest form. When you choose silence, you choose control. You choose not to react to every opinion, every misunderstanding, and every attempt to provoke you. Silence is the space between impulse and wisdom, between noise and clarity. It is where strength resides quietly, unseen yet unshakable. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, the one who masters silence becomes the most powerful voice in the room. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of understanding. It is not weakness. It is restraint, composure, and confidence wrapped in calm. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop giving away your power. You stop allowing others to define your worth or dictate your emotions. There is a quiet dignity in refusing to argue with small minds, a sacred discipline in holding your peace while others speak recklessly. Those who misunderstand you will do so regardless of how many times you explain yourself. Those who truly know you never need explanations. That is why silence is not just golden. It is liberating. It frees you from the endless cycle of trying to be understood by those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Silence teaches patience. It teaches you that not every question deserves an answer, not every attack deserves a defense, and not every noise deserves your energy. It helps you observe without reacting, to study without engaging, and to respond only when it truly matters. There is immense power in watching chaos unfold and choosing peace instead of participation. It is in that pause that your character is revealed. Anyone can shout, few can stay still. Anyone can react, only the strong can remain centered. The more you grow, the more you will realize that silence is not avoidance. It is awareness. There are moments when silence speaks louder than any words ever could. It speaks of self-respect when you walk away from arguments that go nowhere. It speaks of discipline when you choose not to defend yourself against baseless judgment. It speaks of vision when you decide to build quietly instead of broadcasting every step. People will mistake your silence for weakness until they see the strength that grows within it. They will call you distant until they realize that your focus was on becoming better, not being understood. The world often confuses loudness with confidence, but real confidence whispers. The loudest people are often the most insecure, while the calmest carry an inner power that needs no validation. Silence allows your work to become your voice, your results to become your statement. It transforms you into someone who doesn't seek to prove, but simply to perform. The greatest transformations happen in silence, and the loudest victories are born from unseen effort. When you learn to be still in a world obsessed with noise, you become unstoppable. Silence protects your energy, sharpens your intuition, and strengthens your resolve. It creates a sacred space where your thoughts become clearer and your purpose becomes stronger. It teaches you how to listen to others, to the world, and most importantly, to yourself. You stop reacting and start reflecting. You stop seeking attention and start creating intention. Silence gives you the clarity to move with precision instead of pressure. It turns confusion into understanding and chaos into focus. The ones who move in silence are often the ones who make the most impact. They don't announce every goal, every step, every victory. They understand that not everything needs to be shared, that sometimes the best way to protect your dreams is to keep them private until they are real. Silence becomes their shield and success becomes their voice. Because when you are truly strong, you don't need to say much. The results will speak for you. There is a point in every person's journey where they must decide whether to seek approval or to seek progress. You can't do both. The energy you spend trying to convince people of your worth is the same energy that could be building your future. Validation is a temporary comfort, but growth is a permanent transformation. The moment you stop chasing acknowledgement and start chasing improvement, everything changes. You no longer need others to believe in you because your work becomes the proof. You begin to understand that growth demands your full attention, and that attention cannot be divided between your purpose and people's opinions. Seeking validation drains the soul. It keeps you performing for an audience that may never applaud. It ties your confidence to how others respond instead of who you truly are. You start to measure progress not by how much you've evolved, but by how much recognition you receive. That is a trap that kills dreams quietly. Growth, on the other hand, doesn't require applause. It requires discipline. It doesn't crave attention. It craves consistency. Validation makes you focus outward, but growth forces you to look inward. The moment you turn that focus inward, you start to evolve in ways that don't need to be seen to be real. Energy is a finite resource. Every ounce of it you spend explaining yourself, defending your choices, or trying to make others understand your journey is energy lost from building that very journey. The truth is, people will have opinions whether you succeed or fail, whether you speak or stay silent. So why waste your limited energy on trying to please those who were never meant to understand your path? Every great achiever had to learn this truth. Your time is better spent becoming than convincing. While others talk, you can build. While others doubt, you can grow. While others seek approval, you can seek mastery. Growth requires solitude, sacrifice, and silence. It demands that you step away from distractions and pour that same validation, seeking energy into self-improvement. The hours you spend worrying about what people think could be the hours that make your dream possible. The mental space occupied by their judgment could be the space where your next idea is born. You cannot build your highest self while constantly seeking permission to rise. Growth asks for courage, the courage to be misunderstood, the courage to stand alone, and the courage to move forward even when no one is watching. When you shift your focus from validation to growth, you stop needing proof from others. You begin to find peace in the process itself. You start to value progress over praise. You become driven by purpose, not perception. Growth is quiet and often invisible to others at first, but it compounds over time. It turns ordinary effort into extraordinary outcomes. It molds you into someone who no longer needs to be told they're enough because they've built a life that shows it. Validation can make you feel good for a moment, but growth makes you powerful forever. You do not need to prove your worth. You only need to live it. Every time you choose to improve rather than impress, you reclaim your energy and your direction. You take that power back from the world and place it into your own hands. Validation fades, but growth lasts. Validation comes from people, growth comes from within. And the more you grow, the less you crave to be seen, because you'll realize that the work you're doing in silence will one day make so much noise that you won't need to explain yourself to anyone. Your energy belongs to your evolution, not their opinions. Spend it wisely. There is a universal truth that stands the test of time. Words may inspire, but actions define. Anyone can speak about what they intend to do, what they plan to become, or what they believe in, but only those who act consistently transform those intentions into reality. Words are temporary, they fade with the next distraction. Actions, however, leave an imprint that cannot be erased. When you stop talking about your goals and start working on them in silence, your results become your voice. The world listens differently when you have proof instead of promises. Too often, people waste their energy explaining their dreams instead of building them. They seek validation through declarations instead of discipline. But the truth is, the world does not believe in potential. It believes in evidence. You don't have to announce every move, defend every step, or convince others that you are capable. You just have to execute. The most powerful statement you can ever make is consistency. Every day that you show up, every moment that you choose effort over excuses, you are building credibility through action. Talk attracts attention, but action builds respect. Letting your actions do the talking means mastering restraint. It means understanding that results speak louder than reassurance. You don't need to tell people what you're working on when they can eventually see it for themselves. There's something deeply empowering about being underestimated, about letting people doubt your ability while you quietly rise above their expectations. You don't fight skepticism with words, you destroy it with progress. Each small step forward is a statement that no argument can challenge. Each act of discipline says more than any speech ever could. Actions have a frequency that words cannot match. They send a message of focus, dedication, and resilience. When you choose to act rather than announce, you shift your attention from seeking approval to achieving mastery. The process becomes sacred, the work becomes your expression, and success becomes your response. There is no need to explain why you're quiet, why you've pulled away, or why you're so focused. Your silence will one day make sense when the results are too visible to ignore. People will always have opinions about what you should or shouldn't do. But when you let your actions speak, you rise above opinion. You stop participating in debates and start creating undeniable outcomes. That's the language the world respects, the language of results. Actions cut through noise. They don't need translation or explanation. They simply show what's real. And when your life starts reflecting the work you've put in, even those who doubted you will be forced to listen. Every great achiever has understood the power of action over talk. They didn't need to tell the world they were coming. They just arrived, prepared and undeniable. They didn't waste time defending their dreams. They invested time fulfilling them. You can't fake effort and you can't hide progress for long. Eventually, your results become too loud to be ignored. So, stop explaining, stop advertising, stop waiting for approval. Do the work in silence. Be the kind of person whose success makes people remember your actions long after your words are forgotten. When you act, you move energy. You turn thought into momentum, vision into achievement. Every disciplined action builds a foundation for the future you're creating. And when that future arrives, it won't need to be announced. It will speak for itself. Your consistency will become your introduction, your perseverance will become your proof, and your results will become your story. Let others talk about what they will do. You just do it. Because in the end, the ones who act are the ones who lead, the ones who last, and the ones who never need to explain. Time is the most honest storyteller. It doesn't rush to prove, it doesn't shout to convince, and it doesn't argue to be understood. It simply reveals. Everything that is true, everything that is meant, everything that is real eventually comes to light through the passage of time. You don't have to explain your intentions, justify your choices, or defend your journey, because time has a way of exposing what words cannot. The truth doesn't need protection, it needs patience. What is genuine will always survive the test of time, while what is built on illusion will eventually collapse under its own weight. In moments of doubt, people will question your motives. They will misunderstand your silence and misjudge your growth. But you don't need to rush to fix their perception. You don't need to waste energy proving your purity to those who only see through the lens of their own insecurity. Time will do that for you. The same people who doubt you now will one day be forced to recognize what they could not see before. Every seed looks buried before it grows. Every caterpillar looks ordinary before it transforms. And every journey looks uncertain before it proves its worth. Time is the quiet companion that turns ridicule into respect. When you trust time, you stop fighting battles that don't deserve your energy. You stop explaining your heart to people who aren't ready to understand it. You stop needing immediate results to feel validated. You begin to understand that growth doesn't happen in public, it happens in private. The process is slow, uncomfortable, and often invisible. But it's working. Every challenge you endure, every delay you face, every season of waiting is shaping you into something stronger, deeper, and wiser. Words can tell a story, but time writes the truth. There's beauty in letting time speak for you. It never lies. It reveals intentions, exposes pretenders, and rewards the patient. It's the great equalizer, stripping away facades and revealing character. You don't have to explain why you walked away, why you changed your direction, or why you kept your distance. Time will eventually show that your choices were necessary. Those who judge your silence will later understand it was strength. Those who questioned your pace will later admire your consistency. And those who doubted your potential will later reference your success as motivation. Time also has a way of softening what once felt impossible. It heals, it clarifies, and it redeems. The situations that once seemed unfair will one day make sense. The pain that once felt unbearable will one day reveal its purpose. Time transforms confusion into wisdom. It shows you why things had to happen the way they did. You don't need to force closure or seek revenge. Both are naturally delivered by time. What is meant for you will come when it's ready, not when you demand it. The truth is, time doesn't need you to speak. It needs you to stay consistent. Keep showing up. Keep working. Keep believing even when nothing seems to change. Because while you may not see the results instantly, the universe is aligning everything behind the scenes. The people who laughed will stop laughing. The ones who walked away will look back. The same places where you were underestimated will eventually celebrate you. That's how time moves, silently, powerfully, and with perfect precision. You can't rush divine timing. You can't manipulate the seasons of your life. You can only trust that time reveals everything when it's meant to be known. So be patient with your journey. Be faithful in your silence. Let others talk. Let them assume. Let them doubt. Because eventually time will speak louder than you ever could. And when it does, every unanswered question will find its answer. Every misunderstanding will find its clarity. And every pain will find its purpose. Time reveals what words cannot, always. Success has a language that requires no translation. It doesn't need to be explained, defended, or justified. It simply speaks for itself. When you choose to stop reacting to every doubt, every insult, every misunderstanding, and instead focus on building, you discover that success is the most powerful response you can ever give. It silences critics without confrontation. It dissolves arguments without a word. It turns disbelief into admiration and transforms judgment into respect. The people who once questioned your choices will one day use your story as proof that faith, effort, and consistency never fail. There is strength in restraint. When you resist the urge to respond, to defend, to prove, you redirect your energy towards something far more meaningful: your growth. The world is filled with noise, opinions, assumptions, and distractions that try to pull you into pointless battles. But you don't win by engaging, you win by achieving. Success has a quiet confidence about it. It doesn't shout, it doesn't argue, it simply exists. And when it does, it becomes undeniable. You no longer need to speak for yourself, because your results have already said everything that needed to be said. Every great achievement comes with misunderstanding. People will misread your intentions, underestimate your ability, and question your direction. That's part of the process. But you cannot allow yourself to be distracted by their opinions. You have something greater to prove, to yourself, not to them. Success is not about revenge or validation, it's about transformation. It's about turning your pain into power and your setbacks into stepping stones. When you channel every ounce of frustration into focus, your success becomes the answer to every doubt that ever surrounded you. There's a profound peace in letting your accomplishments speak. You no longer have to argue about your value because your work shows it. You no longer have to defend your path because your results justify it. You no longer have to explain your silence because your growth reveals it. Every goal you reach, every barrier you break, every standard you raise tells a story words could never express. Success becomes your testimony, a living, breathing statement that says, I did not need permission, I did not need validation, I just needed belief. The beauty of success is that it renders everything else irrelevant. The same people who doubted you will have no choice but to respect you. The same voices that tried to discourage you will go quiet when your results arrive. You don't need to tell them they were wrong. Time and success will handle that for you. What once required explanation now becomes obvious. What once needed justification now stands self-evident. Success doesn't just prove your ability, it exposes your perseverance, your discipline, and your resilience. It shows the world what consistency looks like when it refuses to quit. When you rise in silence, the impact is louder. Every early morning, every late night, every unseen sacrifice adds up to a story that only results can tell. You don't have to post every effort or announce every milestone. True power moves quietly. Real success doesn't need attention. It earns it. And when that moment comes, when your achievements begin to speak for you, they will say everything you've been holding inside. They will say that you didn't respond with anger. You responded with elevation. They will say that you didn't seek revenge. You sought results. They will say that you didn't try to prove them wrong. You simply proved yourself right. So when the world tests your patience, remember that silence and consistency are the foundation of success. Let them underestimate you. Let them question you. Let them doubt your pace, your plan, your purpose. Because every step you take, every choice you make in faith is a conversation with your future. And one day that future will speak louder than any explanation ever could. Success is the ultimate response, not because it seeks to silence others, but because it shows that you didn't need their approval to become everything you were meant to be.